I was called a useless black man by the driver. What I did next will shock you. Part 1. The road I didn't choose. The city was louder than usual that morning. The kind of noise that fills the cracks between your thoughts and refuses to let silence breathe. I stood on the curb, coffee in hand, watching yellow cabs blur through the rain-slicked streets like streaks of lightning. I was running late for a job interview, the first one I'd had in 6 months. My shirt was ironed, my shoes polished, and my resume folded neatly inside a cheap leather folder I bought at a second-hand shop. But none of that mattered once I raised my hand to hail a ride. A sleek black sedan slowed to a stop. The driver, a middle-aged man with pale skin and a mustache trimmed with military precision, rolled down his window. "You Marcus?" he asked flatly. "Yeah," I said, sliding into the back seat. "Thanks for picking me up." He didn't reply. The car smelled of tobacco and cheap cologne. Jazz hummed low on the radio, though the tension between us drowned it out. I tried to make small talk. "Cold morning, huh?" He grunted. So I went quiet, watching the city smear past. Halfway down Roosevelt Avenue, his voice cut through the silence. "You got a job interview or something?" I blinked. "Yeah. How'd you know?" "You're wearing the look," he said. Desperation mixed with hope. "I've seen it before." I smiled awkwardly. "Well, I hope it leans more toward hope." He snorted. "Depends who's hiring. Most of these suits ain't gonna take you serious." I frowned. "Why is that?" He looked at me through the rearview mirror, eyes narrowing. "You really want to know?" "Yeah." He turned his head slightly, smirking. "Because you're one of those. Always cry about how the world's unfair, but too lazy to do something about it." The air thickened instantly. "Excuse me?" I said. He shrugged. "You heard me. Always blaming somebody else for why you can't get ahead. Government, system, color, whatever. It's all excuses, man. You people just don't try hard enough." My pulse started pounding in my ears. "You people?" I repeated slowly. He laughed under his breath. "Yeah, you know what I mean. You're all over the news talking about equality and justice. But let's be real, most of you don't even want to work. Just want handouts." I leaned forward slightly. "You don't know me." He met my gaze through the mirror, his smirk hardening into something sharper. "Don't need to. You're just another useless black man trying to blame the world for his failures." I froze. It wasn't the first time I'd heard those words. But something about the way he said them, casually, like they were a fact, made them cut deeper than they ever had before. I looked out the window, biting the inside of my cheek until I tasted blood. Every part of me screamed to say something, to fight back, but the part that had learned to survive in silence stayed quiet. He kept talking. "I've been driving for 20 years. You know what I learned? Some people are born to succeed. Others, well, they're born to clean up after the rest." My hands clenched around the folder in my lap. My resume, my future, was shaking. I finally spoke, my voice low. "You can stop the car." He laughed. "What? You gonna walk? We're 10 blocks from downtown." I said stop the car. He slammed the brakes, the seatbelt digging into my chest. Rain streaked across the windshield like broken glass. I opened the door and stepped out, my shoe splashing into a puddle. He leaned out the window, shouting after me, "You'll never get that job, man. People like you never do." Then he sped off, the sound of his laughter trailing behind like smoke. I stood there in the middle of the street, drenched, furious, humiliated. People passed without looking. Cars honked. Life went on, indifferent, uncaring. But something inside me had cracked open. It wasn't just about him. It was about every time I'd been overlooked, underestimated, told to know my place. Every time someone had decided who I was before I even opened my mouth. I walked the rest of the way to the interview, soaked, shaking, but alive in a way I hadn't been in years. The company's office was on the 22nd floor of a steel and glass tower that gleamed like pride itself. The receptionist looked me up and down, her polite smile flickering at the sight of my wet clothes. "Mr. Dean, they're ready for you." Inside, 3 executives sat behind a glass table. Their suits were sharp enough to cut. The interview began. Questions, answers, rehearsed professionalism. But halfway through, one of them glanced at my resume and frowned. "You've been unemployed for quite some time," he said. "Mind explaining that gap?" "I served 8 years in the Army," I replied. "Came back home and took care of my mother after her stroke. After she passed, I tried to find work, but I paused. Things didn't exactly fall into place." The man nodded without looking up. "I see. Well, we appreciate your service, but we're really looking for someone with recent experience." The words landed like déjà vu. Another polite dismissal disguised as professionalism. I thanked them for their time and left, walking out into the cold. By the time I got home, the anger had hardened into something else. Determination. I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the rain dripping from my sleeves onto the floor. The driver's words echoed again. "You're just another useless black man." I whispered to myself, "No, not anymore." I opened my laptop, stared at the blank screen, and started typing. For weeks, I worked every night after my janitorial shift, writing, researching, recording. I started a small YouTube channel called The Road I Didn't Choose, where I share my experiences: racism, rejection, survival. I spoke raw, unfiltered truth about what it meant to be underestimated, overlooked, and still stand tall. The first video got 12 views. The second, 50. By the fifth, thousands. People began writing comments like, "I needed this. You're saying what we all feel. Keep speaking, brother." And slowly, the anger I carried turned into something powerful. Purpose. I wasn't invisible anymore. Then, one morning, an email arrived from a local news channel. They wanted to feature my story, a segment on resilience, perseverance, and the courage to rise above hate. I couldn't believe it. Me, the man who was once too afraid to speak, now being invited to share his voice. I wrote back yes. The interview aired a week later. It wasn't glamorous. Just me, sitting under bright lights, telling the world what happened in that car. And somewhere out there, I knew that driver was watching. For the first time in my life, I didn't want revenge. I wanted understanding to make people see the quiet damage done by words like his. But then, something unexpected happened. The next day, a message appeared in my inbox. No subject line, just one sentence. "You should have stayed quiet, Marcus." I stared at it for a long time. No name, no sender. But my gut told me exactly who it was. That night, as I walked home, I noticed headlights trailing me. Too close, too steady. When I turned onto my street, the car didn't turn. It stopped, just long enough for me to see the driver's silhouette behind the glass. Then it sped off into the dark. I stood frozen on the sidewalk, rain dripping down my face. My reflection stared back at me from a puddle. The man I used to be and the man I was becoming, both standing side by side. I whispered into the night, "You can follow me all you want, but you'll never silence me again." Still, when I got upstairs, there was another message waiting for me. This time, it wasn't a threat. It was a video, grainy security footage, a familiar black sedan, and a timestamp, tomorrow, 8 a.m. Beneath it, for chilling words. Let's take another ride. Part 2, the second ride. Sleep never came that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw a headlight slicing through the dark. The replay of that video, the black sedan, the timestamp, those 4 words kept looping in my head like a haunting melody I couldn't turn off. Let's take another ride. It wasn't just a threat. It was an invitation. By sunrise, my coffee had gone cold, my nerves colder. I watched the clock tick closer to 8 a.m., each second dragging like gravity. I told myself not to go, not to feed whatever twisted game this was. But another part of me, the one that had been humiliated in the backseat of that car, whispered something different. Finish this. At 7:55, I was standing on the same corner where it had all started. The street was quiet. Early morning rain had washed the city clean, or at least tried to. When the clock hit 8 o'clock, the black sedan turned the corner and rolled toward me, just like in the video. Same car, same driver. He stopped beside me and rolled down the window. "Morning, Marcus," he said, voice calm and poisonous. "Miss me?" Every muscle in my body tensed. "What do you want?" He smiled faintly. "A conversation. That's all." I hesitated, glancing at the license plate. Same numbers. It wasn't a bluff. He saw my hesitation and added, "If I wanted to hurt you, I wouldn't have sent an invitation." I took a breath that felt heavier than air. "You got 5 minutes," I said, and got in the car. The door closed with a soft click, like a trap being set. Inside, everything was the same. The faint smell of smoke, the low jazz on the radio. Time hadn't moved in this car. He drove without speaking, eyes fixed on the road. The city rolled by, golden in the morning light. Finally, he said, "You've been busy. Internet celebrity now, huh?" I stayed silent. "You know," he continued, "I watched your little interview. The one about me. You made me look like some kind of monster." "If the shoe fits," I said. He laughed. "Oh, it fits perfectly. But you forgot one thing. Stories have two sides. Your side doesn't erase mine." He smirked. "Maybe not, but people love a redemption arc, especially when it comes wrapped in money." I frowned. "What are you talking about?" He reached into the glove box and tossed a small envelope onto my lap. Inside was a check, $100,000, made out to my name. "What the hell is this?" "An opportunity," he said. "You delete your videos, stop talking about me, and walk away. Simple." I stared at the check. "You think you can buy silence?" "I think everyone has a price, even the ones pretending they don't." I folded the check slowly, set it on the dashboard, and said, "You just wasted your money." His jaw tightened. "You really think people care about your little crusade? They'll forget you in a week. You're not a hero, Marcus. You're just noise." I looked him dead in the eyes. "Maybe, but I'd rather be noise than nothing." He slammed the brakes. The car screeched to a stop on a deserted stretch near the river. He turned to me, eyes burning. "You want to know something about me? I wasn't always a driver. I used to be someone, own a small company, had a house, a wife, a future. What happened?" I asked quietly. He laughed bitterly. "What always happens. Life. The company went under. The bank took everything. My wife left. I started driving to survive." I waited, unsure where he was going with this. Then his tone shifted, darker, sharper. "You remind me of me back then. Angry, proud, thinking the world owed me something." "The world doesn't owe us anything," I said, "but it doesn't get to destroy us either." He smiled faintly. "Maybe, or maybe destruction is what makes us real." For a moment, there was silence between us. Two broken men sitting in the same car, but on opposite sides of the same wound. Then he whispered, "I wanted to see what kind of man you become. Turns out you're dangerous." "Dangerous?" He nodded. "Yeah, you've got people listening to you now. And the people I work for don't like that." My stomach turned. "The people you work for?" He looked straight ahead. "Let's just say I'm not the only one who wanted you quiet." I felt the weight of his words sink like a stone. "You're saying this isn't just about you?" He smirked. "You really think one man's hatred runs a world?" Before I could answer, a loud thud hit the roof of the car. Then another. He stiffened. "They're early." "Who's early?" I demanded. He didn't answer. Instead, he reached under his seat and pulled out a small USB drive, sliding it into my hand. "Take this. Run." "What is this?" "Proof," he said. "About them. About everything. You wanted truth? Here it is. But you didn't hear it from me." "Who are they?" He looked at me, eyes hollow. "The reason your story scared them. You woke something up, Marcus. Something that doesn't like being seen." Suddenly, the back window shattered. A black SUV screeched to a stop behind us. Men in suits jumped out, faces hidden behind masks. "Move," he shouted. I ducked as bullets tore through the glass. The driver hit the gas, the sedan fishtailing onto the bridge. "Who are they?" I yelled. He gritted his teeth. "The ones who own the silence." The chase was chaos. Gunfire, tires screeching, glass exploding. The car swerved hard. slamming against the guardrail. I clutched the USB drive like my life depended on it, because it did. Then, just as we crossed the bridge, an explosion ripped through the rear-view mirror. The SUV flipped, metal shrieking, fire bursting into the sky. We spun out and crashed into the railing. The world blurred into noise and smoke. When I opened my eyes, the windshield was cracked, and the driver was slumped over the wheel, blood trickling down his temple. "Hey, stay with me," I shouted, shaking him. He coughed, eyes barely open. You're not useless, Marcus. Don't you die on me." He smiled weakly. "Tell them I tried." Then his eyes went still. I stumbled out of the car, limping, clutching the USB drive. Sirens wailed in the distance. Police, fire, maybe worse. I slipped through an alley and disappeared into the city's veins, hiding beneath its heartbeat. When I finally reached home, I locked the door and plugged the drive into my laptop. It loaded a single folder labeled Project Renaissance. Inside, hundreds of documents, names, payments, confidential memos, connecting powerful business figures, politicians, and media companies. And one name appeared more than any other: Grant Whitmore, the billionaire philanthropist who owned multiple corporations, including the news station that aired my story. My stomach twisted. The driver hadn't just been a racist fool. He'd been a pawn, part of something much larger, something that used hate to hide power. Then, as I scrolled, I found a video file labeled from Marcus. I clicked it. The screen flickered, revealing the driver, recorded days before. His voice was raspy, but calm. "If you're watching this, I'm probably dead. I didn't mean for any of this to go so far. But they're using us, Marcus. Me, you, all of us. The division, the anger, it's fuel. Don't let them win. Don't let them bury this." The video cut off suddenly, replaced by a message in white text on a black background. "We know where you live." My heart stopped. A knock echoed through my apartment. 3 slow taps. Then silence. I turned off the screen, every nerve in my body screaming. Another knock, louder this time. Then a voice, calm and familiar. "Marcus, open the door. We just want to talk." I looked through the peephole. 2 men in dark suits stood there. No badges. No smiles. My phone buzzed in my pocket. An unknown number. I answered, voice trembling. "Who is this?" A distorted voice replied. "You've seen too much. Don't open that door." "Who are you?" I whispered. "Someone who wants you alive. But if you want the truth, you'll have to take another ride." The line went dead. Outside, the men knocked again, harder. Inside, I stared at the USB drive glowing in the dark. I had 2 choices: hide forever, or find out what Project Renaissance really meant. The city hummed beyond the window, alive, dangerous, waiting. I pocketed the drive, grabbed my jacket, and whispered to myself, "All right, one more ride." Then I slipped out the fire escape as the door burst open behind me. Part 3. The Last Passenger. The city was still asleep when I vanished into its veins. Neon signs flickered weakly above the rain-soaked streets, and my reflection followed me through every puddle, tired, haunted, but still moving. I had one goal now: uncover Project Renaissance. The driver's death wasn't just a tragedy. It was a warning, and the warning was clear. If I stopped digging, I'd live. If I kept going, I'd burn. But I couldn't turn back. Not now. I spent the next 48 hours in a rundown motel by the docks, the kind of place where people checked in with fake names and never checked out. The USB drive was my only companion. Every time I plugged it in, I found something new: encrypted files, fragments of correspondence, blurry photos of politicians, shaking hands in private rooms. But one image stood out: a photo of me, taken from across the street near my apartment, time-stamped 2 weeks before the incident with the driver. Someone had been watching me long, before the insult, and that meant the whole thing, the confrontation, the viral video, the chase, might not have been random at all. By the 3rd night, I had cracked part of the drive's encryption, using a free decryption tool I found online. A new folder appeared: Phase 3, Integration. Inside, a document titled Community Influence Protocol. It read, "Target socially reactive demographics. Stimulate division through control conflict. Reward viral engagement. Punish dissent. Control the narrative through proxy personalities." I scrolled further. My name appeared in bold. Subject MR Marcus Reed, viable candidate for emotional influence testing. Objective: measure social response to racially charged conflict. Status: success. I froze. They hadn't just attacked me. They'd used me like a test subject in a psychological experiment designed to manipulate the world through outrage. I smashed my fist against the table, tears burning behind my eyes. All those messages of support, the interviews, the viral shares, none of it was real. It was engineered. I wasn't fighting injustice. I was feeding their machine. The rage that had kept me alive now turned to something sharper. Purpose. If they wanted to use me to spread their poison, then I'd flip the script. I'd use their own weapon against them. I needed help. Someone who could expose this. There was one person I trusted, Amara, an old friend from college who'd become an investigative journalist. We hadn't spoken in years, not since my life fell apart, but she was the kind of person who'd run toward the fire, not away from it. I used a burner phone to text her. "It's Marcus. Need to meet. Life or death." She replied 5 minutes later. "Warehouse 16, Pier 9. Midnight. Come alone." The docks were silent, except for the ocean's breath. I slipped inside the warehouse. Huge, dark, the air thick with dust and secrets. "Amara?" I called softly. She stepped out from the shadows, holding a flashlight and a look of disbelief. "Marcus, what the hell happened to you?" I handed her the USB drive. "This, everything. It's bigger than I thought." She plugged it into her laptop, the screen lighting her face as she read. Her eyes widened. This is massive. If this is real, it's the biggest social manipulation operation in history." "It's real," I said, "and they killed to keep it that way." Before I could say more, a light flared through cracks in the wall. "Headlights! They found us," she whispered. The doors burst open. 3 men in suits stormed in, guns drawn. "Step away from computer," one shouted. Amara backed up, clutching the laptop. "You'll have to shoot me first." The leader smirked. "That can be arranged." Without thinking, I grabbed a metal pipe and swung. The man closest to me went down, guns skidding across the floor. Shots rang out. Glass shattered. Sparks flew. Amara ducked behind a stack of crates while I tackled another agent, knocking his weapon away. "Run!" I shouted. She bolted toward the back exit, clutching the laptop. I followed, the night exploding with noise behind us. We burst into the alley as the warehouse erupted in flames. The car they'd arrived in now a fireball. Amara coughed, eyes wide. They were going to destroy the evidence. "And us," I said. "We can't go to the police. They're part of it." "Then where?" "Somewhere they don't control." We hid in an abandoned subway station downtown, the kind of forgotten place where secrets like to rot. Amara spent hours copying the data from the USB to an encrypted cloud drive. When she finished, she looked at me and said, "Once I upload this, the whole world will know." I nodded. "That's what they're afraid of." "But Marcus," she added, voice trembling, "once this goes live, they'll come for us. You know that, right?" "I don't care anymore," I said. "They made me a story. I'll make myself the ending." At dawn, she pressed upload. Progress bar 1%, 2%, 3%. Then the lights flickered. The sound of engines echoed from above, black vans pulling up. "They're here," she whispered. I looked around, the tunnel, the flickering lights, the rising tension, and I made a decision. Finish the upload, no matter what. "Marcus, promise me." She nodded, tears in her eyes. I ran toward the stairs, pipe in hand, ready to buy her time. The first man through the tunnel didn't see me coming. I swung hard, the pipe connecting with his arm. He dropped his weapon, and I kicked it into the dark. Another followed, this one faster. He slammed me into the wall, fist connecting with my jaw. Pain exploded through my head. But I didn't stop. I fought like a man with nothing left to lose. Behind me, I could hear the faint beeping of the upload continuing. 67%, 72%. A gunshot echoed, and my arm went numb. I fell to my knees, clutching the wound. The leader of the group stepped forward, tall, calm, with cold eyes that didn't blink. "You should have taken the money," he said. I spat blood. "You should have picked a better pawn." He aimed the gun at my chest. Then, from the tunnel behind him, a blinding flash. Amara had thrown a flare. The light disoriented them long enough for me to lunge. We both fell onto the tracks as another train thundered past above us, shaking the ground like thunder. When the dust settled, the men were gone. Amara crawled to my side, clutching her laptop. "It's done," she said breathlessly. "Upload complete." I smiled weakly. "Then we won." But she shook her head. "Marcus, look." On the screen, the progress bar hit 100%, then flashed red. Upload intercepted. Access revoked. System override initiated. The files vanished one by one. "No," she whispered. "They stopped it." And then, as if mocking us, a new message appeared on the screen. "You were never the author of this story, Marcus. You were the test." Sirens wailed in the distance. The city was waking up again, oblivious to the war beneath its feet. I pressed my hand to my wound, blood seeping through my shirt. Amara held my face, tears cutting tracks down her cheeks. "What do we do now?" I looked toward the tunnel, where faint light glowed at the other end. Morning breaking through the darkness. "We keep fighting," I said softly. "We make them afraid again." She smiled faintly. "You really think we can still win?" I glanced at the flickering laptop. A single file had survived. It was labeled passenger_04.mov. I clicked it. The video showed me, sitting in the back of a car. Not the driver's car. A different one. Someone else behind the wheel. And the voice that spoke next made my blood run cold. "Good morning, Marcus. Ready for your next ride?" The camera panned up, revealing the driver's face. Alive. Smiling. "I told you," he said. "This isn't over." The video cut to black. To be continued.